The alarm buzzed through the metal halls of the Crimson Dawn station. Captain Kim Woo opened his eyes at exactly 0500 hours, just like every morning for the past 12 years. His body moved without thinking. Feet hit the cold floor. His hands reached for his uniform, his mind already planning the day ahead. Woo was 28 years old, but felt much older. His dark hair was cut short and neat. His face showed no expression as he looked in the mirror. The reflection stared back with empty eyes. This was how a perfect soldier should look. He walked through the station's corridors. Other soldiers nodded at him with respect. Captain Kim Woo was famous throughout the Terran Defense Corps. He had won more battles than any other soldier his age. He had never failed a mission. He had never questioned an order. The neural implant behind his left ear buzzed softly. It was checking his brain patterns like it did every few minutes. The small device made sure he stayed focused. It pushed away any thoughts that might make him weak. Fear, sadness, love, these things were removed before they could grow. Woo entered the briefing room where his team waited. Sergeant Park Hannah sat at the front table, studying mission files on her tablet. She was 25 and one of the smartest tactical planners in the Corps. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her uniform was perfect. But sometimes Woo noticed she asked too many questions during briefings. Lieutenant Lee Jun stood by the window looking out at the stars. He was the youngest on the team at 22. Jun had joined them 6 months ago after his previous unit was destroyed in the Battle of Titan. The young soldier still showed signs of what the doctors called emotional bleeding. Moments where his conditioning was not complete. "Good morning, Captain," Hannah said, without looking up from her files. "Morning," Woo replied. He took his seat at the head of the table. Jun turned from the window and joined them. The briefing screen flickered to life. Colonel Yang Min appeared, his stern face filling the display. Yang was in his 50s, with gray hair and scars across his cheek from the early days of the war. "Team 7, Yang began. "You have a new mission of highest priority." The screen changed to show images of alien creatures. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue crystal. Their faces had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. These were the Velati, humanity's greatest enemy. "The Velati have been our enemy for 15 years, Yang continued. "They started this war by attacking our colonies. Theseus is nothing more than animals to be destroyed. But we have new intelligence about their latest plan." The screen showed a moon orbiting a distant planet. "This is Kepler-4 forward to see. Our spy networks have discovered a secret Velati research facility there. They are developing something that could end this war in their favor." Kaka Woo felt his implant buzz as it processed the information. The device sorted through his thoughts, keeping only what was useful for the mission. Questions about why the Velati wanted to destroy humanity were pushed aside. Only the mission mattered. "Your orders are simple," Yang said. "K. Infiltrate the facility. Eliminate all alien scientists. Destroy their research. K. Leave no survivors." Hannah leaned forward. "Sure. What kind of research are they conducting?" "Unknown," Yang replied. "That's why it must be destroyed. We cannot risk them completing whatever weapon they are building." John raised his hand slightly. "Are we sure they are building a weapon? Could it be something else?" Yang's eyes narrowed. "Lieutenant, the Velati are our enemies. Everything they do is aimed at destroying humanity. Do not let sympathy cloud your judgment." Woo watched Chun's face change as his neural implant corrected his thinking. The young soldier's expression became blank again. "Yes, sir," John said. "Captain," Wu Yang continued, "your team will deploy in 18 hours. This mission is classified at the highest level. Success here could save billions of human lives." The briefing ended and the screen went dark. Wu stood up, feeling the familiar emptiness where emotions should be. This was normal. This was how he was supposed to feel. Team, prepare for deployment, he ordered. Check your equipment and review the facility blueprints. We leave at 2,300 hours. Hana and Jun left to prepare. Wu remained in the briefing room, staring at the blank screen. For just a moment, something flickered in his mind. A memory of a face, young, female, smiling, a voice saying his name, but not Wu. Something else. The implant buzzed harder, washing away the strange thoughts. Wu blinked, and the moment was gone. He had work to do. In the equipment bay, the team checked their weapons and armor. Wu strapped on his plasma rifle, the weight familiar in his hands. He had used this weapon to kill hundreds of Velothi soldiers over the years. Each death had been clean, efficient, necessary. Captain, Hana said quietly, do you ever wonder what the Velothi are really like? The question surprised him. They are the enemy. That is all we need to know. But what if they have families, children? What if they're just defending themselves? Wu felt his implant react to her words. Dangerous thoughts. Thoughts that could make a soldier hesitate at the wrong moment. Sergeant, report to medical for a conditioning check, he ordered. Hannah's face went pale. Sir, I was just... That is an order. Can. She left without another word. Can watched her go, then looked at Wu with something that might have been concern. That night, Wu lay in his narrow bunk, staring at the ceiling. His implant had been extra active today, buzzing more than usual. Sometimes he wondered what thoughts it was blocking. But the wondering never lasted long before the device pushed those questions away to doubt tomorrow they would kill alien scientists. Scientists who probably had never held a weapon. Scientists who might have families waiting for them to come home. The thought appeared in his mind like a crack in a wall. For a split second, Wu felt something he had not felt in years. Doubt. Then the implant buzzed and the feeling disappeared. He closed his eyes and waited for morning to come. He was a perfect soldier. He would complete his mission. He had no choice. The transport ship cut through space toward the moon Kepler-4 for to see. Captain Kim Wu sat in the pilot seat, his hands steady on the controls. Behind him, Sergeant Park Hannah checked her equipment for the third time. Lieutenant Lee Jun stared out the small window at the growing moon ahead. 10 minutes to drop zone, Wu announced. His voice was calm and flat, just like his training demanded. The moon looked dead from space. Gray rocks and deep craters covered its surface. But their sensors showed the Velothi facility hidden beneath the ground. It was big, maybe 100 rooms connected by tunnels. Remember the mission? Wu said to his team. We go in fast and quiet. Eliminate all targets. Destroy the research. No prisoners. Hannah nodded, but her face looked troubled. Jun just stared ahead with empty eyes. His conditioning check yesterday had been rough. The doctors had turned up his implant settings. They landed the ship behind a ridge of rocks. The moon had no air, so they wore their combat suits. The suits were black and made them look like shadows moving across the gray ground. The facility entrance was hidden under fake rocks. Wu used his scanner to find the real door. It slid open with a soft hiss as Jun hacked the security system. Inside, the halls were filled with blue light. Everything looked clean and smooth. This was not what Wu expected from an enemy weapons lab. It looked more like a hospital or school. They moved through the tunnels without making sound. Wu's implant kept his heart rate steady and his mind focused, but something felt wrong. Where were the guards? Where were the weapons? The first Velothi they found was in a room full of computers. The alien was tall and thin, with skin like blue glass. It had 4 eyes that blinked in sequence as it worked at a desk covered in papers. The alien looked up when they entered, and its 4 eyes went wide with fear. It raised his hands and spoke in a voice like singing wind. Please, I am just a researcher. I have no weapons. Wu raised his rifle. His training said, shoot first, ask questions later. The enemy was the enemy, but he hesitated. The alien kept talking. I have children, small ones, who wait for me to come home. Please do not kill me. Wu felt his implant buzz harder. It was trying to push away the alien's words, trying to make him see only a target, not a living being with a family. Captain, Hannah whispered. Are you all right? Wu pulled the trigger. The plasma bolt hit the alien in the chest, and it fell to the floor, dead. But the moment of doubt stayed with him like a small wound that would not heal. They moved deeper into the facility. More aliens died, scientists working at computers, researchers studying samples under microscopes. None of them fought back. None of them even tried to run. They just looked sad and afraid before they died. This doesn't feel right, Jun said, after they cleared the fifth room. These aren't soldiers. They're just people trying to do their jobs. They are the enemy, Wu replied. But his voice sounded strange, even to himself. They reached the main laboratory at the center of the facility. The door was thick and needed special codes to open. Jun worked on the lock while Wu and Hannah waited. Inside, they found something unexpected. The lab was huge, with machines everywhere, but these were not weapons. They were medical devices, scanners, and computers that looked like they were used for healing, not killing. In the center of the room stood a Velothi female. She was older than the others, with lines on her crystal skin that showed her age. She wore a long white coat covered in equations written in alien writing. This had to be Dr. Zala Keth, the lead scientist their intelligence reports mentioned. Unlike the others, she did not run when she saw them. She stood still and watched them with her 4 dark eyes. You are Captain Kim Wu, she said in perfect human language. Her voice had strange music in it that seemed to go right into his head without passing through his ears. Wu aimed his rifle at her heart. How do you know my name? We know many things about your people, she replied. We know what they have done to you, what they have taken away. His implant buzzed angrily, trying to block her words, but something about her voice was getting through the electronic barriers in his mind. You are not what they made you to be, Dr. Keth continued. Your species was not meant for this path of violence and control. Images flashed in Wu's mind. A woman with kind eyes calling him by a different name. A man teaching him to draw pictures. Children laughing in a garden under blue sky. The images hurt, like looking at bright light after being in darkness. Shut up, he said, but his voice was shaking. Your real name is not Kim Wu, the alien scientist said. They gave you that name when they took you from your family, when they put the machine in your head to make you forget who you really are. The implant was buzzing so hard now that Wu could hear it. Pain shot through his skull as the device fought against the memories trying to surface. Captain, Hannah said urgently, something is wrong with your readings. But Wu could not hear her. He was seeing flashes of his life before the military, before the conditioning, before they made him into a weapon instead of a person. The research we do here, Dr. Keth said gently, it is not to hurt your people. It is to help them, to give them back what was stolen. Lies, Wu gasped, but even as he said it, he knew she was telling the truth. His finger tightened on the trigger. His training demanded that he kill her now. But for the first time in 15 years, Kim Wu, or whoever he really was, wanted to listen instead of shoot. The moment stretched like a wire about to break. In that moment, everything he believed about the war, about his enemy, about himself, began to crack. Then his conditioning kicked in with full force. The implants sent electricity through his brain, washing away the doubt and memories with waves of artificial calm. He pulled the trigger. Dr. Keth fell to the floor, her 4 eyes going dark. But as she died, she smiled. "The truth will find you again," she whispered, "when you are ready to see it." The journey back to Crimson Dawn Station took 8 hours. Captain Kim Woo sat alone in the pilot seat, staring at the stars through the front window. His hands shook slightly as he held the controls. This had never happened before. Behind him, Sergeant Park Hannah worked quietly at her computer. She was copying files from the Velothi facility before they destroyed it. Lieutenant Lee John slept in his chair, but his face looked troubled even in sleep. Woo's implant buzzed every few minutes, working harder than usual. It was trying to clean up the mess that Dr. Keth's words had made in his mind. But the memories kept coming back like water through cracks in a dam. A woman with gentle hands putting him to bed. A man showing him how to paint with bright colors. Children running through grass under a warm sun. Hey, and a name, not Kim Woo, but something else. Something that felt like home. Each memory brought pain as his implant fought against it. But Woo found himself wanting to remember more, even if it hurt. "Captain," Hannah said quietly, "are you feeling all right?" Woo looked at her in the reflection on the window. "Why do you ask?" "Your bio readings have been strange since we left the facility, and you've been very quiet." He turned his chair to face her. "What did you think of the mission?" Hannah stopped typing and looked at him with surprise. Soldiers were not supposed to discuss their feelings about missions. They just completed them and moved on. "I thought it was successful," she said carefully. "We eliminated all targets and destroyed the research. But what did you really think?" Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Those weren't soldiers, Captain. They were just scientists, capable, trying to learn things." And the way that old female looked at you. How did she look at me? It's like she knew you. Like she was trying to tell you something important. Woo felt his implant buzz with warning signals. These were dangerous thoughts. But he could not stop himself from asking, "What do you think she was trying to say?" Hannah glanced around to make sure Jun was still sleeping. Then she moved closer and spoke in a whisper. "Captain, I've been having dreams lately. Strange dreams about things that feel real but make no sense. It's a house with yellow walls. A dog that liked to chase birds. Parents who call me by a different name." Woo's heart began to beat faster. "What name?" "Park Soo-jin. But that's not my name. My name is Park Hannah. It says so in all my files." The similarity to his own experience made Woo feel dizzy. "When did these dreams start?" "About 6 months ago. Right after the Battle of Titan when Jun joined our team. I think seeing so much death at once did something to my implant, made it work differently." "Okay?" They both looked at Jen, who was moving restlessly, in his sleep. His lips were moving as if he was talking to someone. "What about Jun?" Woo asked. "He talks in his sleep sometimes. Always about someone named Lee Minho. He says it's his real name, but when he wakes up, he doesn't remember." Woo felt like the floor was falling away beneath him. All three of them were having problems with their conditioning. What did that mean? His implant gave him a sharp shock of pain, trying to make him stop thinking these thoughts. But the pain only made him more curious. "Hannah," he said slowly, "what if the dreams are not dreams? What if they are memories?" She went pale. "That's impossible. We've been soldiers our whole lives. We chose this, did we? Do you remember choosing?" Hannah was quiet for a long time. Then she shook her head. "No, I remember training, but not before training. It's like my life started when I was 10 years old. Mine too, okay?" They sat in silence, both afraid to speak what they were thinking. "Okay?" Memories had been changed. If their names were not real, then what else was a lie? The communication system beeped. Colonel Yang's face appeared on the screen. "Team 7, report. Mission completed successfully, sir," Wu replied. All targets eliminated. Research destroyed. Excellent. However, we have a problem. Our long-range sensors detected a data transmission from the facility just before it was destroyed. Someone sent information off-world before you could stop it. Wu's blood went cold. Sir, we destroyed all the computers. Apparently not fast enough. This is a serious security breach. Command wants to know if any of your team acted suspiciously during the mission. Wu looked at Hannah. She looked back with fear in her eyes. If Command suspected them of sabotage, they would all be sent for reconditioning. Or worse. No, sir. Wu lied. My team performed perfectly. Good, because we have reports of other soldiers showing signs of malfunction across the fleet. Soldiers who ask too many questions. Soldiers who hesitate before killing enemies. Okay. Soldiers who claim to remember things that never happened. Words hit Wu like hammer blows. Other soldiers were having the same problems they were having. What happens to soldiers who malfunction? Hannah asked. Yang's expression became cold. They are fixed, or they are replaced. A command is authorized. Protocol 7 for all compromised assets. The screen went dark. Wu knew what Protocol 7 meant. Soldiers who could not be reconditioned were eliminated as security risks. Jun woke up with a gasp. I dreamed about my sister again, he said. Then he realized what he had said, and his face went blank. I mean, I had a nightmare about the mission. But it was too late. They had all heard him talk about his sister, a sister that officially did not exist. John, Hannah said gently, what was your sister's name? I don't have a sister, he replied automatically. But tears were running down his face. Wu made a decision that would have been impossible a week ago. He reached over and turned off Chen's implant monitoring system. Lee Minho, he said quietly. Chen's eyes went wide. How do you know that name? Because it's your real name. Just like Park Soo-jin is Hannah's real name. Just like Kim Woo is not mine. For the first time in years, the three soldiers looked at each other and saw not weapons, but people who had been stolen from their families and turned into something they were never meant to be. What do we do now? John asked. Wu looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other soldiers were waking up, just like they were, and Command was hunting them all. We find out the truth, he said. All of it. The ship flew on through space, carrying 3 people who were no longer perfect soldiers. They were becoming human again, and that made them the most dangerous people in the galaxy. 3 days passed before the new orders came. Captain Kim Woo sat in his quarters, staring at the mission file on his tablet. The list of names made his stomach feel sick. Sergeant Kim Bjorum from Delta Squad. She had been caught asking questions about her childhood. Lieutenant Park Jin-woo from Strike Team 3. He had refused to execute Velothi prisoners, claiming they looked too much like his dreams of alien friends. Captain Lee Sora from the Reconnaissance Unit. She had tried to contact her family on Earth family that officially did not exist. 15 names in total. 15 soldiers who were showing signs of emotional contamination, as Command called it. 15 people who were starting to remember who they used to be. All of them had to die. This is wrong, said Sergeant Park Hannah. She was reading the same list on her own tablet. Appease, our good soldiers, our friends. Lieutenant Lee Jun nodded. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly. Ever since they had turned off his implant monitoring, he had been remembering more each day. A sister who taught him to sing. Parents who worked in a small shop. A life that had been stolen when he was 8 years old. Command says they are security risks, Wu replied, but his voice had no strength in it. They could give away military secrets to the enemy. What secrets? Hannah asked. That we are all prisoners in our own minds. That our government steals children and turns them into weapons. Maybe the enemy already knows. Wu felt his implant buzz with warning signals. These thoughts were dangerous, but he could no longer pretend they were wrong. A message appeared on their screens. New intelligence had located the final target on their list. Dr. Shin Mira, a human scientist who had been working with Valathi defectors. She was being held in a maximum security prison on Earth, waiting to be executed for treason. But the real reason for her death sentence was different. Dr. Shin had been secretly developing a way to reverse the neural conditioning. She had found a cure for what had been done to them. She could help us, Jen whispered. She could help all of us remember who we really are. She is a traitor, Wu said automatically. Okay? But even as he spoke the words, he knew they were lies fed to him by his conditioning. The transport ship that would take them to Earth was already being prepared. 6 hours. They would begin the journey to execute the woman who might be able to save them all. Wu stood up and walked to the small window in his quarters. Outside, stars moved slowly past as the station rotated. Somewhere among those stars were the Valathi worlds. Were they really humanity's enemies, or were they trying to help, just like Dr. Keth had said? Captain, Hannah said quietly, I've been thinking about the data transmission from the facility. The one that Command was so worried about. What if it wasn't an accident? What if Dr. Keth sent information about their research to other Valathi scientists? What if she wanted them to continue working on the cure? The idea hit Wu like lightning. Dr. Keth had not been trying to harm humanity. She had been trying to save it. And her last act had been to make sure the work would continue even after her death. They're not our enemies, he said, the words coming out before his implant could stop them. The Valathi are trying to help us. Chun stood up suddenly. Then who is our real enemy? He. The answer came to all three of them at the same time. The real enemy was not an alien race from distant stars. Their real enemy was the system that had created them. The government that stole children and erased their memories. The military that turned human beings into living weapons. We have to save Dr. Shen, Hannah said. That would be treason, Wu replied. Good, John said, with more strength in his voice than Wu had ever heard. Maybe it's time we committed some treason. But first, they had to survive the journey to Earth. Command would be watching them closely. Other soldiers on the ship would be following orders to kill them. They showed any signs of rebellion. Wu made a decision that would have been impossible a week earlier. He began planning not how to complete the mission, but how to fail it without getting caught. The journey to Earth took 2 days. During that time, Wu felt his conditioning break down piece by piece. Each memory that returned was like a small explosion in his mind. His real name was Kim Jae-sung. He had been taken from his parents when he was 7 years old. He had a younger sister named Kim Yoo-jin who loved to draw pictures of flowers. His father had taught him to play guitar. His mother had sung him to sleep with old folk songs. The memories were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Beautiful, because they showed him who he really was. Terrible, because they showed him what had been stolen. John and Hannah were going through the same process. John remembered his sister, Lee Mira, who had cried when the soldiers came to take him away. Hannah remembered her real name, Park Soo-jin, and her grandmother, who had raised her after her parents died. They were not soldiers anymore. They were people who had been turned into soldiers against their will. The Earth prison was built like a fortress. High walls, energy shields, guard towers with automated weapons. Dr. Shin Mira was being held in the deepest level, surrounded by layers of security. How do we get her out? Jen asked as they studied the building plans. We don't, Wu said. We go in like we're supposed to. We follow orders until we reach her cell. Then we make our choice. What choice? Hannah asked. We choose who we want to be. Weapons or human beings. They entered the prison at midnight. The guards knew them by reputation and let them pass without Question. Captain Kim Woo was famous for never failing a mission. No one suspected that this time he planned to fail on purpose. They moved through the corridors like they had done 100 times before. Professional, efficient, deadly. But inside, everything had changed. Dr. Shin's cell was small and cold. The woman inside looked older than her 40 years. Prison had been hard on her. But when she looked up at them, her eyes were still bright with intelligence and hope. "You're here to kill me," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Wu replied. Then he did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He knelt down beside her and laid his weapon on the floor. "But we're choosing not to." Dr. Shin Mira stared at the 3 soldiers kneeling in her cell. Captain Kim Woo had placed his weapon on the floor. Sergeant Park, Hannah, and Lieutenant Lee Jun did the same with their rifles. "You're not here to kill me," Dr. Shin said softly. It was not a question anymore. "No," Wu replied. "We're here to save you, and we need you to save us." Dr. Shin looked at each of them carefully. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Her prison clothes were dirty, but her mind was sharp. "You're breaking free from the conditioning," she said. "I can see it in your faces. You remember things now, don't you?" "My real name is Kim Jae-sung," Wu said. The words felt strange and wonderful in his mouth. "I had a sister, parents who loved me. They were taken away when I was 7. Park Soo-jin," Hannah said. "My grandmother raised me. She made the best soup in our village." Lee Min-ha, June added. "My sister taught me songs. I remember her voice." Dr. Shin smiled for the first time in months. The human mind is stronger than they thought. Even their machines cannot destroy what makes us who we are. Alarms began ringing throughout the prison. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Somewhere above them, guards were running and shouting orders. "They know," Wu said. "Command is tracking our biosignals. Okay, they can see that we're not following the mission." Through their earpieces came Colonel Yang's angry voice. "Team 7, report your status immediately." Wu pulled out his earpiece and crushed it under his boot. Hannah and Jun did the same. "Doctor," Wu said urgently, "can you really reverse the conditioning? Can you give people back their memories?" "Yes," she replied, "but I need time and the right equipment. The process is delicate. If done wrong, it could damage the mind forever." Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Right. The prison guards were coming. "We have to get out of here," John said. But Dr. Shen shook her head. "There's no escape from this place. It's built like a fortress. The only way out is through the main gate, and that's heavily guarded." Wu felt his old training kick in, but not the artificial conditioning. It was deeper. This was the part of him that had always been human, even when they tried to turn him into a machine. "Then we don't run," he said. "We fight against our own people," Hannah asked. "They stopped being our people the day they stole our memories," Wu replied. The cell door exploded inward. Prison guards in heavy armor poured through the opening, weapons raised. Behind them came soldiers from the Terran Defense Corps, soldiers who still had their conditioning intact. "Surrender now," the lead guard shouted. "Drop your weapons and prepare for reconditioning." Wu looked at his rifle lying on the floor. He could pick it up, he could fight. But that would make him just another weapon in a war he no longer believed. And instead, he stood up slowly and spread his arms wide, protecting Dr. Shin with his body. "We surrender," he said. The guards moved forward with electronic restraints. But as they reached for Wu, something unexpected happened. His neural implant, which had been buzzing constantly for days, suddenly sent a massive shock through his brain. The pain was beyond anything he had ever felt. It was designed to force him back into compliance through pure agony. Wu screamed and fell to his knees. His vision went white. Every muscle in his body locked up as electricity coursed through his nervous system. But instead of making him obey, the pain did something else. It burned away the last pieces of artificial programming in his mind. Like fire cleaning metal, the electricity destroyed the conditioning and left only the real person underneath. When the pain stopped, Kim Jae-sung opened his eyes. Not Kim Woo, the perfect soldier, but Jae-sung, the human being who loved art and music, and his little sister, Hannah, and John were going through the same process. Their implants had activated the final protocol, total reconditioning through pain, but the devices were old and had been damaged by weeks of fighting against recovering memories. Instead of erasing their personalities, the implants overloaded and shut down permanently. The three friends looked at each other with clear eyes for the first time in years. They were free, but the guards were still coming. "Stop," Dr. Shin said loudly. "Look at them. Really look." The prison guards hesitated. They could see something had changed. The three soldiers no longer moved like machines. They no longer had empty eyes. "These people are not your enemies," Dr. Shin continued. "They are victims, just like you, just like all of us." One of the guards lowered his weapon slightly. "What do you mean?" "How old were you when you joined the military?" Dr. Shin asked him. The guard looked confused. I don't remember. I've always been a soldier." "No," Dr. Shin said gently. "You haven't. None of us have. We all had lives before this, families, dreams. They were taken from us when we were children." More guards were lowering their weapons. Doubt was spreading through the room like ripples in water. But the Terran Defense Corps soldiers were different. Their conditioning was newer, stronger. They raised their rifles to ward the prisoners, exceed the traitors. Their leader commanded. Jae-sung stood up and walked toward the soldiers. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his humanity. "My name is Kim Jae-sung," he said. "I had a sister named Yujin who loved to draw flowers. What was your name before they took it away?" The lead soldier's rifle shook in his hands. "I am Operative 779. "That's not a name," Jae-sung said. "That's a number. You're not a number. You're a person." Behind him, more prison guards were remembering. One guard sat down heavily and began to cry. Another stared at his hands like he was seeing them for the first time. The Defense Corps soldiers looked around in confusion. Their training said to shoot the traitors. But everyone else in the room was acting strange. "Execute them now," their leader ordered again. But his own soldiers were hesitating. Cracks were appearing in their conditioning too. Dr. Shin stepped forward. "The war with the Valathi was created to keep us controlled," she said to everyone in the room. They knew that if humans had a common enemy, we would accept any sacrifice to fight them, including the sacrifice of our own children's minds. "Valathi aren't trying to destroy us," Hannah added. "They're trying to free us." "That's impossible," the lead soldier said, but his voice was uncertain. "Is it?" Jae-sung asked. "When did you last see your family? When did you last feel happy without drugs or conditioning? When did you last choose something for yourself instead of following orders?" The questions hit like hammer blows. One by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons. Their leader stood alone, still pointing his rifle at Jae-sung. "You're all traitors," he said. "You're all going to die." But he was wrong. They were not traitors to their species. They were the first free humans in a generation, and their freedom was spreading like fire through the prison, through the planet, through the stars themselves. 6 months later, Kim Jae-sung stood in a classroom on the world of New Seoul. Human and Valathi children sat together, learning about art and music and the things that made life beautiful instead of just efficient. The war was over, not because one side had won, but because both sides had chosen to stop fighting. Jae-sung picked up a brush and began to paint. His sister, Eugen, found alive after years of searching, sat beside him, adding colors to his canvas. For the first time in 20 years, he was exactly who he was meant to be: human,